we know, the way to build wealth is to have and hold an asset, and the home is an asset. A rental unit is not an asset to the renter at all. So it's
That's why young people are so frustrated with us. They
It's
can't
gotta
afford a
be-
home. They can't ever
Yeah.
figure out how they're gonna pay off their student loans. So they have debt on their shoulders for so many years ahead of them. It doesn't feel like nobody is giving them a plan for a way out.
That's right. Between
know,
the
they're just-
housing and the
yeah.
student
Yeah.
loans
And the student loans, it's unbearable.
inflation and everything, and it's just not. And so, like, I don't
Even
think,
rentals are so expensive for them
Yeah,
to
like,
yeah.
kind of
for
do.
Reaganism with the trickle-down stuff, I don't think that when we leave the people in power to their own devices that they necessarily do the right thing. I
Oh,
think they
to
do the
say
right
the
thing
least,
for
that's
themselves
Yeah.
and
by
for their
the-
families, and so.
Now, that's why the
And whoever who
Constitution
was
provided that
lobbying
one of the
them.
houses would be, they'd be elected every 2 years. I mean, that was the debate about how long representatives and senators, so the senators get 6 years, but we get a chance to respond every 2 years to elect a representative, and if we don't like them, we should get them out. The idea, unfortunately, there's such thing as safe seats, and there's really no contest. That's previously our congressional seat was a safe seat. However, with a guy like Randy Fine, maybe we could get elected Democrat.
Yeah.
Maybe we could Yance or Rivera.
Did you say
or
this new
whomever.
commercial?
Yeah.
Is it
So we
a
just
discussion?
joined in.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, so welcome everybody to this week's edition of Conversations in American Democracy. Once again, Kurt McCauley, who's usually here for our Constitution Minute, is not here, so I will just fill in for a moment. He's been going through the amendments, but preceding the amendments in the Constitution are the articles. Last week we spoke of the article that empowers the legislature, and the legislature alone is permitted to make laws. The executive branch, and that's Article 2, does not make laws, despite what our current executive and commander-in-chief thinks. So Section 1 says the executive power shall be vested in the President of the United States. He shall hold his office during the term of 4 years. You know what, as I'm reading this, it's not gender neutral, and maybe it should be gender neutral. So he shall hold his office during the term of 4 years, together with the vice president, chosen for the same term, be elected as follows. Each state shall appoint, okay? The power is in the states. Tell that to our chief executive. Each state shall appoint in such a manner as the legislature thereof may direct a number of electors equal to the whole number of senators and representatives to which the state may be entitled in Congress, but no senator or representative or person holding an office of trust and profit under the United States shall be appointed as an elector. And then there's a point that's struck about you had to be a landowner, for example, that's now gone. So Congress may determine the time of choosing of the electors, and that was the January 6th thing, and the day on which they shall give their votes, and which day shall be the same throughout the United States. No person except a natural-born citizen or a citizen of the United States at the time of the adoption of this Constitution shall be eligible for the office of the President, and so on. I do want to skip, and it is, once again, my bias, and it was on the flyer as well, to the oath of office for the President. So this is the President took this oath of office. And yes, if you look closely, Donald Trump did not put his hand on a Bible, and there are actually 2 Bibles. I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States, and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. By the way, now my bias, it ends there. Only when President Chester A. Arthur became sworn in as president did he add the words, "So help me God." So there's a guy by the name of David Barton, He is a historical revisionist. He claims that, of course, the founders were all devout Christians and they prayed all the time, and that George Washington and every president since said, "So help me God." But no president until Chester A. Arthur, after the Civil War, used the word "So help me God." But now they've become ensconced as, if you ask people, does it "So help me God" appear? They would indicate yes, but of course the Constitution is very careful not to mention anything that would be pro or anti-religion and so on, so it does not include "So help me God." So that was the purpose, given that we have a president who portrays himself as Jesus, a vice president who thinks he can tell the Pope about theology, thank you, and a secretary of defense who thinks that thank you, that a line from, or a soliloquy from that Samuel L. Jackson gives from Pulp Fiction is actually the prophet Ezekiel. But what I left out, and maybe we need to talk a little bit and turn to Mark's expertise on this as well. Today is Earth Day, April 22nd, and we need to take care of the Earth. Does our fealty, our loyalty, our adherence to the importance of Earth Day mean that we have to oppose Western expansion beyond Route 1 in housing and in development and so on? Should we be opposing that, or should we be supporting that? Is it good for the city?
Bring that up,
well, that's how I'm
tonight,
turning to you. Yes, exactly.
Tonight, 6 p.m. at the community center, a presentation is being provided by the developers and those that are very excited about the justification and reasoning for the expansion to try to clarify and to provide information that our city council representatives may be misleading people. And it even came up in Tuesday's agenda.
Yep.
The Western expansion was not really a thing until, and I did verify, our mayor is correct. The state is constantly looking at impact of evacuations during storms, for example. And if you remember, like when DeSantis first came in, he approved all this money for a third north-south highway, which was going to run along Cedar Key and straight up the west side of and hit 75 to allow the west Tampa, Sarasota, all those people to evacuate, because it's been proven over and over again the population in Florida cannot be successfully evacuated if a Category 5 hurricane were to come in. As we've seen, even with both directions going north, there's not enough.
Yeah.
Well,
Excuse me, but by the way that we got the exit at Matanzas Parkway on I-95 was with that argument of evacuation by actually Melissa Holland, the then mayor, led the charge. Go ahead.
So the city, and a great majority of the money that's being put up for the growth, including the loop road, is being provided by federal and state. But that's very fluid and not confirmed other than every year's cycle.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend going and listening if you're interested in knowing what a large chunk of Flagler County and the city 10-year plan is for that area.
That's
Go
at
for
6
it,
o'clock.
I'm
Yeah.
still confused.
Yeah.
I thought the western expansion you were talking about was this whole sports center or something. that they
That's
want
supposed to be part of it. That's
So
what
how's that relate to?
All right, so
this Reaganier, and go ahead.
It's US 1 West, is that kind of?
yeah, west of US.
Yeah.
So the state wants to put in a major road that runs along 95 as an alternative.
North-south.
That's going to go from Orlando up to 10 in Jacksonville. That's what their bigger picture is.
Right.
At the same time, the city, when they were presented with this, fell over themselves trying to figure out, and David Alphen and previous elected officials saw that as a potential growth for the city. And that's where the sport event came in, and at Danko, and that
Okay.
became a whole thing. So you have to separate why it's being done, and then what we can do with this newly accessible land. And right now, you can't really get to it because the old brick road runs through
Well-
there, and now the county is saying, no, you're not gonna mess with the historical aspects of part of the county. So,
Yeah. I think the plan was to extend Matanzas Parkway get into the west and to expand, and I've heard Palm Coast Parkway or Whiteview.
All three are gonna be cut through.
And then somewhere at west, east of the old brick road, so as not to disturb that historical, the value, historical value of that. And then it would loop together, so it's called a loop. Much of that property is owned by a company called Rainier, and they wanted to develop it, but
Well,
everyone's insisting.
that's the ones that we're gonna pay for the stadium.
Yeah, exact. Well, that's what.
Then he reneged.
Well, that's what Pontieri, Teresa Pontieri is up in arms about, that there's all sorts of things that were promised. Like everybody else, that we deal with contractors, promise, what is it, was the ad, promise her everything and give her arpege or something like that. But anyway, promise everything.
I remember that.
And then when it comes down to the reality,
well, if you're
Very
gonna
good.
be here for 10 years, at least, then you should go to this meeting, you should pay attention to it.
You said it's at the community center?
Community Center, 6 p.m. I believe Jill from the Democratic Club had put something on the Democratic Club's Facebook page about it. That's how I,
let's take a straw poll. Just raise your hand if you think that we have enough housing on the drawing boards and currently in our community. Yeah. And hands down, anybody think we don't have enough housing? We should have more.
Well,
Yeah, so that's-
I would put a proviso in there, we don't have enough of the right kind. Because if
Variety.
you can't, right.
Describe the right kind.
Affordable
Yeah.
for the community, like we talked about earlier, the firefighters, the police officers, the school
Nurses.
teachers,
Yeah.
the nurses, the transient population that comes through the hospital, you know, those people that maybe only have 6-month contracts, those kind of people. They need somewhere to live. And apparently, we don't have enough housing in that range
Right.
for them, either be rentals or purchase. We don't have enough housing in that area.
Yeah.
Something between a trailer and
Yeah.
the 3-2.
Well, that's the
And I
idea of
recommend
building
that.
dorms with the.
I would amend that is to add affordable housing for our youth who want to get a
Yeah,
foothold
young
Yeah.
and
people,
equity
exactly.
in their life.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely, absolutely.
But not at the detriment of people who already have homes that might get devalued,
Right,
you know, or
right.
lower.
Yeah, there's
So
gotta be
it's-
something in the
it's-
middle.
Well, you need both. One shouldn't cause the other.
Right.
I think it's solvable. I just think that that again, the focus needs to be on what is good for everybody.
Yep.
As long as we do that, then I don't think that we can go wrong.
Well, you know, getting a developer to build a lower cost house and have just our own development where it doesn't affect the cost of other areas. But you can't get a builder to do that.
No.
He sees big dollars with
Right.
Yep.
$400,000 plus homes.
Again,
He's not gonna
it's
do
like
it.
the grab. It's
Yeah.
like
Not gonna do
grab
it.
it.
But I don't like that idea about a low-income area because then it causes,
Affordable income,
It's
not low
not
income.
low income.
Yeah,
Low
okay.
income, you know, kind of makes you envision like a ghetto
A
or, you
slum.
know, some
We're
kind of
talking-
seedy place.
Yeah.
No,
200 to 250.
affordable,
we don't have any
nice
low-income
places where people
neighborhoods
can
here.
live.
Like
in
200 to
Palm Coast. That's one of the
$250,000 homes.
wonderful
Right.
things about us
Or
is that we are
apartments, you know,
economically and
condos,
racially
things like that.
integrated.
Yeah.
But
That's fantastic. That's one of the
Agreed.
reasons why I moved here.
They're
Right.
still like
But
apartments.
If you
build
start
a-
to-
Get single
If you
family.
could build a little
We know
area
people who only
of
live in
200
condo
to
kind of
$250,000
places.
homes, that's not gonna hurt us, but it will help the people.
But if we break up that $250,000 homes into different places around the city and
That's right.
county.
That doesn't work.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work?
And the
Yeah.
homeowners that are there already will oppose it.
It
in
was,
strength.
yeah, okay, I'm,
So I got a-
accept that, none of that is,
you're right that the economics, and not just Palm Coast, but throughout the country, is driven by the value, the foreseen value or understanding of the cost of homes and then who can build them. ITT was marketed.
CDC,
Sorry.
ITT CDC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was marketed as a higher-end retirement community with golf courses. There's no work. The schools were minimal, and this is where that was the brand of Palm Coast.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, I have lived throughout this country, especially in the military, and never could I afford to live within 20 miles of every base I was stationed. Because the military didn't pay what I needed a living wage. Because I could move on the base
Right.
and live in military housing. There was options. Sometimes, like in Hawaii, it's a 2-year waiting list. The point I'm trying to make is listening to the city or the county say, the citizens, the employees that we have can't afford to live in the city they work, and we're not able to pay them the living wage because of budget restraints. Now, a lot of places, especially blue type states, have gone forward and tried to do rent control and tried to do other aspects to keep things down. That is and will never happen here in Florida. In fact, it's the exact opposite. Our governor, about 3 years ago, passed and signed a law that rent control is not allowed even at the Palm Coast level. Because people, in their minds, people have the right to have equity and value in their home. So I pose this question to homeowners, of which I am one. How much of my equity or the value of my home am I willing to lose to lower the prices of homes around me so that people in incomes at the city level, for example, can afford to buy it? I just met with a realtor in preparation, and at our price point, a little under 300,000, she told us it's probably a 60% chance an investment company is going to buy that property and turn it into a rental or something, because most people can't afford to buy it at that.
That we're living around here.
And if
yeah.
they could, they're over in the C-section or out on the
Yeah.
beach. Or,
All right, so my question,
But why does
um,
him doing
Sue, yeah, go ahead then. Sue was going to be next. But, okay.
No, go ahead.
Go.
my problem with this, that whole scenario is the market value really what your house is in this area? I live over in Flagler Beach, and I'm telling you, there is no way my home and my property should be appraised at what it appraises at. There's no reality in that. But in that fantasy island, property's selling and going up constantly.
That's what determines price. That determines
yeah,
value, right?
It's called
What people
comps.
are willing to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
comparables.
Yeah.
And I just spent an hour looking at comps in my area, and they were going, well, you know, the problem with it, comps are based on sales, and there haven't been enough city sales.
I
Yeah,
rode
that's it,
24 miles
Yep.
today on my bike, and I drove through Seminole Palms and over by where the other one, Dreamfinders. But those houses are going up like, and they're sold like this,
Yes, they
and they're
Right.
400,000 plus,
You know why,
and they're
Mark?
just
Yeah.
flying off
Because
the
the-
Like
line.
me.
Because the builder, the developers are offering
Yes.
4% loans
They're
over
mortgages.
6
They
and a
got big
half.
signs.
And I
Yeah.
stood in front of the die and says, hey, is the city gonna offer that to help get their employees? Will the city of Palm Coast offer them a 4% interest rate? Or even if you go and you drive around here, you see
Yeah.
no money down needed.
Right.
They're gonna give you $20,000,
Yeah.
$30,000.
And at the bottom it says closing costs paid.
Exactly.
Right.
And those
People
are
are
all,
just buying
those
them
are all
like hotcakes.
signs of
Yeah.
a slow market.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah.
And they reported yesterday that the monthly permit, that's the number of permits that are issued, have been dropping for like the last 7, 8 months.
We're overbuilt, I would do that. Sue, what were you saying?
So where I grew up in New Jersey,
Yeah, yeah.
my town and many of the towns around me, I'm pretty sure the acreage that my parents had was 1/8 of an acre. I think it was like 50 by 100 or something
Yeah.
like that, okay? Palm Coast, what's the acreage, a quarter? I think most
Yeah.
lots are a quarter of an
Yeah.
acre.
It is 50
Yeah,
by 100.
yeah, it changes the
In Palm
neighborhood.
Coast?
Yeah.
No,
Well-
100 by 100, isn't it?
Yeah.
No,
We're
I think it's
50 by
80.
100 in-
By the way,
But it
di-
depends on
different-
where in
Different
Palm
neighborhoods, and yeah.
Like my
that- different,
scattered
yeah.
lot was 80 by 120.
One of the features of our street
Yeah,
designs
so
and
pretty good size.
I don't know where in Bergenfield whether you had a grid of homes
Yes.
like,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
then we don't have a grid, so that changes lot sizes a lot. Go ahead.
So, something that could be, I think part of this is obviously looking at the needs of the community and the needs of everybody, as you know, I feel very strongly about that. But, and we have to be aligned with the state growth plan. But I don't understand why we're moving so slowly on possibly rezoning existing properties. For example, I own 1/3 of an acre, my house is on 1/3 of an acre. There's more than enough room on my lot to build another house, be it a 2-1 or a 1-1 or something like that. And it would be good for me, because if the city allows me to subdivide it, now I'm not really losing anything in value. You know what I mean? My value is, I'm getting compensated, for giving that up, but it's really no skin off my nose. I don't need 1/3 of an acre, but people need affordable housing. So I'm
confused. Are you thinking of splitting it so you could sell it to somebody to do
Yeah.
that, or
Yeah.
do it for yourself as a
Yeah.
rental property?
either way, but what I'm saying is like, it's something that I think it would behoove everybody to look at, because Flagler County does have a lot of very large lots. And if people, I'm not saying you have to do it, I'm just saying if you're okay with it, it might be a way to keep everybody happy. You know what I mean? Because then the value as you see it will not go down, but you're also, attending to another very insidious problem, which is, I would love to be able to do something like that. My neighbors across the street, they bought a house, and you would not believe what they think they're gonna get for this house. Like, they bought it, and they're asking more than double what they paid for it maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And I'm laughing. I'm like, whatever they're smoking, I want some of it. And it bothers me. It gets stuck in my craw, because I'm like, no, I know what the value of my house is according to the appraised value and everything. And that's probably what I would sell for. Given my location, I'd be able to sell it to some rich person that could pay cash for it and turn it into an Airbnb or something? Yes. Would I be tempted to do that? Possibly, but I'm definitely I look at my house, my little 3-2 on my 1/3 of an acre, and I'm like, this is a perfect starter home for somebody. Why would I completely cut them out of the market? It's just not right.
But what would you ask for your starter home if you were to sell? If you won the lottery and were going to move to Hawaii tomorrow, what would you ask for your house? That's probably none of our business, but the issue is starter homes don't have starter costs. They have costs that are substantially higher than what starter people can.
Yeah.
And
the
that's
fact
the problem.
is, my house is almost 30 years old. There's some things that, if somebody came in, they'd probably want to gut the bathrooms and redo stuff, so I would consider that as well. But I'm happy with enough. That's a word that.
Well,
that
that's
I'm-
Yes.
That does make
Yep.
it unique.
I'm
Yes.
happy with
So,
it.
but Sue,
You
to
have
ask you-
enough.
to answer your question, the city did get a presentation, and Sandra Shank and the board that she's on, for the third year in a row, submitted the same 7 or 8 suggestions of how to help issues like you're talking about. And one of them was, and I think I'm gonna miss it, APUs, which is exactly what you're talking about, where if you have enough room in your home, you could build like a mother-in-law or an apartment complex. And the city was talking about the impact of density
That's what I was wondering.
of the sewer, and because they did a great presentation on the duplex lots and how they connect to our water and sewer and electricity.
But if the developers are gonna come in anyway and increase the density, A, and B, there's no reason why you couldn't cap the stuff. You know, like,
The
make
state
it like a
won't let
lottery,
you.
like,
But you know what,
Yeah.
they reversed that decision when they come in and say, okay, I'm gonna put up 800 homes on 1,000 acres over here, and I'm gonna do this, this, and this, and the city's like, oh, wait a minute, those 800 homes gonna impact our water, grid, utilities, fire, police department.
absolutely.
And the city, go, oh, well, yeah, but they'll also increase our tax base. So they go to the side where the money's flowing, regrettably. They're not looking, oh yeah, well, yeah, we can bring all these people in, but do we have everything we need to support that many houses?
It would just be my hope that people
and-
would open
and
their
if
minds.
not-
Affordable is not even in that equation.
Yep, yep.
Just open your mind
And we're not even talking about insurance, for example.
Oh.
Insurance is going
Think outside
sky
the
high
box.
as well. That's a separate matter.
Yeah.
Let me turn to a fact that at the last 2 years ago in November, a slim majority, 53%, I think it was, of Flagler County voters voted for Amendment 4 to be gracious with women's reproductive rights and leave it in the hands of women. And that was that. And many of us around the table worked hard on that, even though we discovered that Governor DeSantis took $10 million of tax money to work against us.
I hear there's an investigation on it.
Stole it.
Yeah, and well, that's the question about DeSantis's future. By the way, and his wife's future
Yeah.
in politics. But now we come to a case that put that in one compartment. Another compartment is the likelihood that Samuel Alito and/or Clarence Thomas will retire from the Supreme Court during the presidency of Donald Trump. And that the replacement has to be confirmed by just a simple majority of the U.S. Senate, and therefore keeping the Senate in the hands of Democrats, or returning the Senate to the hands of Democrats, becomes all the more important. So I ask, can we here in Flagler County even find one precinct or more that will vote against Ashley Moody and presumably, I'm guessing, Alexander Vindman? I don't know who, there are others. By the way, I've been contacted because of this by, I just want to say there's Agnes Nixon, is somebody else, but there's a woman who,
I know,
exactly. And she wants to come,
with
but
a
she
J.
can't find a date in which she can come on a Wednesday and talk to us, even though I invited her. By the way, at the same time, because we had that request, I also sent several requests to the office of Alex Vindman to send, if he can't come, at least somebody come and talk to us. And haven't heard back at all from him, although I'm a little bit more biased towards him. But so can we defeat Ashley Moody?
Is he running against Moody?
Vindman is running for, there's a primary, and there are several candidates for U.S. Senate, and Alex Vindman seems to me to be the top one. For those who aren't familiar, Alex Vindman is, by the way, is an immigrant, Ukrainian, and worked for the federal government, so the intelligence office and was the guy on the telephone call when Donald Trump asked whoever it was in Ukraine, says, "Can you find me any dirt on Joe Biden?"
well,
And so he's the whistleblower.
And he went to the defense of the secretary, the ambassador to Ukraine, who
Yeah, yeah.
Trump was acting that lady.
Yes, yeah.
And he came and testified and said, this is what transpired on
Right,
the phone
so-
call and everything.
Forced out of
She
the
got
position.
forced out anyway.
Yeah,
But that's where he kind of, came into the public view.
So
Wonderful.
can we, is there any opportunity, and I don't know on a state level, and I wouldn't worry about a state level, all we got to do is worry about our own precincts. do you think that there will be a single precinct in this county that would vote for Alex Vindman rather than for,
I do.
yeah? Because,
I do.
because by the way, how many precincts did Trump take in 2 years ago, a year and a half ago? And the Republicans, and
Well, we just listened to
by the way, and Rick Scott, how many precincts did he take?
Majority in Florida?
No, here in let's just talk about our community, Flagler
In our
County. How many
community,
precincts?
We just listened.
All of them.
Right.
There is not a single precinct that
We
voted
just listened
blue.
to a presentation by Katie, and she showed the graphics that said that even though they have, the Republicans have double the number of people as
Right.
we do, there was only 454 difference in the number of extra votes they had.
Right, well,
Which shocked me, I almost fell off my chair.
but they.
Because the Democrats don't
but-
get out to vote.
Yeah.
Well, but they, according to this,
Well.
they only won by 454
Yeah.
votes, and they have double the amount of people we have. So our people did get off their asses and get out
Yeah.
the door
Some
way
did.
more
Yeah.
Gee,
than
what-
they did.
Kathy, which election was she referring
The
to?
last one. That's
The
what
last
she said.
presidential
The
election.
The
presidential.
last, or the
The
Josh
it was the
Wheel?
presidential
November.
election.
Okay, November?
Yeah. The question always has been, how many NPAs are Republican adjacent and how many NPAs are
don't know.
Democratic
Nobody has
adjacent?
that. Who has that
And from what the national polling, I would expect that a lot of NPAs
There's about
are now all of a
10,000 of them
sudden
on the
leaning
list
in
that
our
doesn't
direction.
Yes.
That's maybe wrong, and that may be wishful thinking on my part. So because I don't know that she's taken into account the fact that the
No,
NPAs.
she just says
yeah.
how many there
How many
are.
votes, yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
hopeful though. I'm hopeful.
yeah, okay.
Surprisingly, because look what happened in South Florida, in Trump's district. We have flipped, what, 2 in Florida? I think that there's gonna be a big, at least the independent media that I've been listening to, there's a reckoning coming with MAGA. I think that within MAGA, people are reading the tea leaves, they're sniffing the wind. Tucker Carlson, all those people, they're not doing that because they all of a sudden woke up, okay? We know that, we know what
They
those
see the
people,
wind blowing.
we know what those people are made of, right? So if they see something coming, combined with the fact that Hungary lost the election, what are they doing in Hungary right now? But they seem to be making moves, this is just based on what I've been hearing, towards actually delegitimizing the party that Orban started in 1988. Those young democratic is what they call themselves, right? And there has been some like hypotheses going on out there, like what if we could delegitimize this MAGA movement, because the argument is that they are not seemingly interested in governing. They seem more interested in just destroying. So with that,
And we have experience with that.
now the Republicans, obviously, legit, but MAGA, right?
Not a party.
So I'm wondering how much of this discussion, especially as we get closer to the midterms and all this stuff, is gonna start trickling down into the states, because it seems to already have somewhat occurred in Florida.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm hopeful,
I think
because
that people who are,
I don't
who
think it's.
lost their party, regular, normal, everyday Republicans are disgusted, and they're gonna not be talking about how they feel or which way they wanna vote. They're just gonna go in and vote
And just
against
start
all
taking
this.
heads.
Right.
And I think number one is those billionaires.
Yeah.
And the people that are corruptly benefiting from this at the federal level as well as at the state and the local level. We know it. It's out there. It's the transparency, the light is shining on it. And now it's just a matter of how many people are gonna get mad enough to go, wait, this is not what I signed up for, flipping those voters.
Well, look what happened
Opinion.
yesterday in Virginia.
That's
And
great.
all this morning, all the talking heads, especially on the Republican side, were calling rigged.
Yeah, already.
Actions speak louder than words. We've heard it 100 times. Talk, 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 but what you do matters. To support our hope, over 85% was the turnout for one vote in Virginia. That's how many people turned out. To do nothing more than allow the state to go in and redistrict. it was amazing to me, and I spent some time listening to Fox this morning, and they were saying how terrible, how evil the Democrats party is, and then when you hear Jessica Tarloff go, so can somebody remind me what happened in Texas?
Well, when Fox.
They got so quiet.
Yeah,
I
they had
say
some
it's
guy on
heaven
there
sent.
saying, oh, the Dems started this redistricting,
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
that is-
definitely.
but, which is a lie.
We are in
Everything,
a,
it's all projection.
we're in a
Whatever
post,
they're
we're in a post,
accusing the Dems of is
it's
exactly
there,
what they're doing.
but we're in a post-truth society.
History of it.
Yeah.
But I just think it's all too front and center, and I
But
just
too,
think.
I think with all this ICE stuff, I think a lot of immigrants, minorities,
Catholics,
need to wake up
they are.
and say, oh, when we, because they voted Republican, they need to realize
So the
that that was a
abortion thing.
mistake.
There's more
And I
to
think
it.
people are starting to wake up.
There's more to it than just abortion. Abortion has been an issue for decades, probably for centuries. You know what I mean? It's gonna continue to be an issue. But to be so narrow and to say, oh, it's all about that, I'm sorry, yes, I agree, fetal lives matter, but I also think that ICU nurses matter, poets matter,
Education
refugees
matters.
Education
in
matters,
Buffalo
yeah.
who
The
die
teachers
from
have to-
exposure, their lives matter. You know, all these lives matter. So let's stop with the narrow and because look what it's gotten you.
Okay, so we see what's going on the national level, we watch TV, and so on. How typical is Flagler County?
Atypical.
Okay,
It
so
is
it's not, so what you're saying is what happened in Virginia really is not
Not
reflective of what we
necessarily,
have to expect, you know what I mean?
No, yeah, I
And-
say not necessarily. Look what happened in Boca. They now have a Democratic mayor. Flipped right up his nose.
Democratic mayor in Jax,
Yeah,
right?
And I'm very excited about that, right in his own
What was the
backyard.
percentage in the special election for Josh Wheel? That election?
The-
How
the-
many
the-
Democrats came out?
Yeah.
We had a
We narrowed it by
I
17%.
think it was like
Yes.
63%
Yeah.
was the number.
impressive amount of Democrats
Yeah.
Right.
came out.
But I want you to you're talking about Flagler County, Palm
Yeah,
Coast.
yeah.
At the latest REC monthly meeting, a surprise visitor showed up. Representative Donalds, who's running for governor.
That's another
and
matter.
he is the de facto leader right now within the Republican Party. He, no. He's a representative at at Washington DC.
Yeah.
Large, bearded.
South of us. But,
Yeah, but the point I want to make is one of our elected officials asked him flat out about what his view of, because he's running for governor, of home rule.
Yes.
Does everybody know what home rule is, right?
Yeah. What's the name of the
We-
person you're talking about again? I missed it.
Byron Donalds,
Brian
U.S.
Donalds.
Representative
Brian
And I
Byron
Donalds.
stood in
Donalds.
front of the dais,
Pre-
and I looked right at that person and said, can you confirm that this conversation occurred and what the response was? And that person did say, I asked him about home rule for Palm Coast, and his response was,
Go.
Palm Coast only exists because the state allows it to. And so they want to control. And then I asked every one of our council members how they felt about that. And multiple ones said, not going there, not going to support this person.
Oh, not gonna support it or not gonna
Absolutely.
comment?
Charles Gambaro flat out said, and I will speak for him because it's on record, is I cannot vote for that candidate. So I do believe that the medicine is too bitter and that there are cracks between the Republicans that still want to move forward and survive and have their conservative views and things, which most of us agree to some part of it, and then this other group that is arguing with the Pope and doing all this stuff. You know, I thought it would be a great, for another conversation of going, you know, when you bring religion into politics, you have to be prepared for religion to bite back,
Yeah.
right,
If you're
Meryl?
gonna be stupid, you better
Absolutely.
be tough.
Yeah,
As much as
absolutely,
we
yeah.
don't like
And
our
it's really,
current
and
governor.
stupidity is,
Byron Donald
Would be
would-
Way worse.
way worse.
yeah,
That would be
Byron,
worse.
Absolutely.
Byron Donalds is a MAGA, is a clone of Trump,
Has
is,
anybody
yeah.
had a chance to talk to David Jolly?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sort of.
Well, he came down and did a presentation at
Yeah.
the Methodist Church early
Yeah.
on.
Did
We
a
have it on
phenomenal-
YouTube if you wanna watch
Yeah.
I'd
it.
love to watch that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have it on
Did a-
YouTube on our
By the way,
channel.
David Jolly was a Republican, is now a Democrat. That leaves a little suspicion, but
Well, that didn't
all
work
these
with
races are
Chris.
going to wind up being, again, two people. And you're going to vote for the lesser of two evils, or the evil of the two lessers.
Well, so
What
far
about
he's
Val
our front
Deming's
runner.
husband?
That's,
Jerry
we were
Demings.
talking about him before you come in. What's Jerry Demings?
Yes,
What is
we-
that?
I was very, I was, first of all, I want to start out by saying I was impressed with his credentials.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think he has, progressively,
Experience.
walked himself up the chain of what he needs to know to do the job. But personally, I was not happy when we asked him, for the podcast to put, a signature so that he could,
Sign a
just
release.
be, we can put it up on YouTube. And the first thing he said to me, it wasn't, I have my people check it. His first thing was, people pay me for my image. And I'm like, excuse me? Like, we just want the people who are not here to be able to watch it. People who can't get out of their house for whatever the reason, whether they're infirm or they just can't make it, they get to watch it and see who you are.
And
Such a shock.
Jen asked me, why do we need a signature? You know,
Yeah.
it was a
Public
public
venue.
place.
Yeah.
But if
You know-
somebody else uses some words
You,
that he said
Yeah.
during that, then we made the recording, so we automatically get involved in
Yeah,
that case.
yeah.
We're part of that suit.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's,
We just
just,
wanna get
just
clear.
by the simple fact that we did the recording, we need
We want a
protection
release.
from
This
that.
is
Absolutely.
you're
Somebody
going
else
up on the
can
internet.
use it inappropriately. We
Yeah.
won't.
Yeah.
But that,
Anyway, we still haven't heard back from their team.
yeah.
So that's why nobody saw the video.
It's,
Whereas David Jolly's up around 400 views.
one of the features of jurisprudence is
Mm-hmm.
anybody can sue anybody for, if you can sue McDonald's because you spilled a hot cup of coffee, you got a hot cup of coffee, and you spilled it, and it's your
Mm-hmm.
fault, anybody can sue anybody, and in the end, what it costs to defend that suit, and that's why the releases are so important.
But I'd be
that's-
curious to
yeah.
follow up in what you
Yeah.
said, because I talked to a lot of voters, and if it came down to Byron Donald, MAGA Republican, or Jerry Deming in the final vote,
Oh,
Sherry,
Oh,
yeah,
I'm
not a
gonna vote
question.
for Republican no matter
Yeah.
what.
and that's where I think as Democrats and even independents,
Yeah, she should.
we need to understand and get behind the need to get together, rally, support, to put people in place, because we have no voice. We've been, for the last 4 years that I've been working here in Flagler County and for the Democrats, we have struggled to get people that speak or think like we want in power. And without that happening, you don't have a say other than to rally and to march and to make calls. So the opportunity is going to be presented again, and the choices are unbelievable this time around for most of the races.
I do want to say one thing that's come up before, but I want to reiterate it. What it takes to run is one type of personality. What it takes to actually do the job is another. I do believe he will do the job well, based on his background and all the different positions he's held. I think he has the the cojones to get it done. Whereas running that whole episode, I have such a bad taste in my mouth now over that.
Understood.
But yes, if it
Yeah.
comes time to pull the lever and it's this one versus,
Right.
he's more qualified, I'll vote for the more qualified person.
Well,
I will.
somebody was asking me, how can people vote for a 34 convicted felon?
I never
Twice impeached.
understood
Because
that.
they know how to set aside the bitterness and the issues for the larger goal of what the party needs.
Yeah.
Party loyalty, especially here in Flagler, I've witnessed it so many times. When you look at the Josh Wheel, Randy Fine race, 2 weeks 3 weeks before the actual vote, Josh Wheel was running neck and neck with,
Yes.
and Randy Fine wasn't even really campaigning. He wasn't
Yeah.
doing
He
anything.
didn't have to.
And then all of a
No,
sudden,
like Sam
all of
Greco.
a sudden the polls came out. He
Carter
got
in front of
scared. He
Carter
saw what was
already.
going on, and now all of a sudden you had Donald Trump calling elected officials here locally to make sure that they pushed to get enough Republicans to get him elected, even though we did cut back.
Well, we
on
got bombarded in the mailbox
Yeah.
too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, because all of a
Yeah.
sudden all this money came in.
Oh, yeah.
I pose a question to the table though. As Democrats, I think we do our due diligence on who we promote to be elected. Because
Yeah.
ask yourself this question. MAGA voted in Trump. All right, Trump ran as a Republican. Remember, originally, Trump was a Democrat. So had Trump became the Democratic Party ticket and ran, would we have supported him?
No, I'm sorry, I can't, no.
Does
Oh, at the Democratic level?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
but Trump knew that. He knew he couldn't do this.
But
He did
I'm
that.
not indicting who he is, because he is who he is.
Yeah.
I'm questioning, we have the moral high ground
Oh, yeah.
and forethought to say, we see who he is. There's no way I'm gonna
Support that.
support that and move forward. The Republicans, in my opinion, said, you know what?
We know.
Hold our nose. We know he's not a good guy. We see his bombastic ways, his
Prejudices.
prejudices.
Grab 'em by
Yeah.
comments.
His vibe would loosely translating fact to nonfiction,
Immaturity.
Yeah.
but we'll still support him in electing president.
Because of the
This
R.
is a reflection of who we are. We voted who we see ourselves as.
Because we've been demonized so much
That's the
by
other.
the other party, we have to do something, and
They have used
Somebody
the word
has to
lunatics
change that image
and
of us.
devils
Exactly.
and
they
Satan
demonize us
Yeah.
with
so much.
everything.
Crazy
Yeah.
names.
that they think that that's
And
who
some
we
of
are.
it's projection. I mean,
But that's
hate America.
Democrats are, molest children, and that's
Pedophiles,
projection.
kill babies.
Yeah, and we eat little babies, and so
It's
we're
all
that we're
emotional. Remember we
yeah.
talked about this
Yeah,
a year or
yeah,
two ago?
yeah,
How
no.
they lean into the emotion of it.
So,
They get people fired up and angry and
so rather
they
than
don't really have the
No,
sometimes, I
we
think, capability
we
to
make
kinda-
There's no
we
cure
make
for
intellectual
stupid.
no, but we make intellectual arguments, but they're
Blanket.
functioning on an entirely different
Democrats
level.
are patriotic, rah-rah.
Right, they
That's
stole
what they
a
do,
flag.
and they
We
go
had to steal it
on
back.
and on and on with this, and they listen to that.
But the other side of that is, so in theory, MAGA has destroyed, there'll never be in a Republican Party again.
Okay, that's-
Literally, Trump can take the title as the person that destroyed the Republican Party. Because they will always, forever, no matter what he does, erase history. That is the party of insurrectionists.
I think that's why they're doing what they're doing in Hungary, though, and I go back to that because it seems to me that now that they've taken back the control, they are decapitating it. They're not just saying, oh, we're not a big fan of this, let's vote on this. They are decapitating it. Like, I guess in Hungary, they had the state-run radio, that was the first to go.
Well-
Like, you're done. And that's why I use that word, delegitimizing them. They have to delegitimize that in order to do that kind of
That's
drastic
all we
thing.
have to do
We-
too.
it's
We have
gonna
to
have to
literally
happen here.
undo all his
Yeah.
Because
executive
MAGA
orders,
is
all this
not.
crazy.
Yeah.
MAGA
We have
is
to get
not
rid
the
of it.
Republican Party. You know, they're
No,
not,
but
but
they're
They took the Republican
they're
Party.
destroying.
They-
Yeah,
but
they're
they
destroying.
hijacked
Yeah,
it.
They hijacked it.
which
Yeah.
is what they do with the American
But-
flag, and
Yes.
it's what they do with Lincoln,
Exactly.
all these,
Yeah.
Yep.
these hallowed, like, good things. They've taken it and they've exploited it and bastardized it and turned it into something that it's
But-
not.
Crazy.
You gotta hold the Republicans that knew what was happening responsible. They may have,
Well,
they
they
may
made
have
it
jumped in the
happen.
driver's
They made
seat
it
and drive the
happen.
car, They may have stole the car and start driving it,
But they
but the
were given
Republicans
gas.
never got
were
out of
given
the
gas.
car.
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
no point did they say, hey, you know what?
No brakes.
This is
We're-
not
we-
right.
As Al likes
we're
to
not with
say,
this.
they're
Let
the
us-
party of the brakes, and
Right.
they never use the
They
brakes.
never used brakes.
Brakes,
Because
yeah.
let us remember, right after insurrection, how you heard all the Republican senators condemn it, damn it, and then the very next day,
Fall in line.
fall in line.
I think the Dems
Absolutely.
are smelling blood in the water, though.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that, we all wonder, like, why has it been so painful these last 10 years? Why has it been so horrible? I am of the belief right now that it was to get us to this moment, to get us so
hope so.
scared and get us so upset and so involved that we've seen it. Now we've seen what they're capable of. And I think that
I think it
it's
kinda can
going
get
to
worse.
light a fire under the Democratic Party to
Well-
just really, start looking at the Constitution, start describing what it is
But our
it means
problem
to be
is-
American.
That problem is so low level now because we are now engaging and tickling the dragon with a world war.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay? So as much as we need to get back so we can get some kind of control of this runaway wreck,
Maniac.
you still have
Yeah, exactly.
an insane individual that is threatening to annihilate a civilization.
The world peace.
And has
World order.
the capability to do so and have the people around him that will follow those orders.
Yeah,
See, I
nobody's
think
putting
all
the
these
brakes
But, yeah.
cracks are gonna,
Yeah.
I think all of these cracks in the military and all the attacks that they've done on people, I think it's all gonna just converge. I
Yeah.
can feel it.
Yeah,
It
hope so.
feels like it's
it-
just,
What's the,
Well, the
Sitting
question
and getting
question
ready
is
to
whether it's wishful thinking or not.
which is
But-
the general that,
Millie.
Kane.
Millie, that
The
last general
yeah.
that cut, he wanted to
Yes.
actually pull
The
the codes?
yes,
and-
Yes,
yeah,
that General
yeah,
Mills.
and the front, yeah.
Is he still employed?
He
No,
tried to-
no, he
That's
was
last
fired.
tried
He
to
was
do that
he was
this past
fired, and
weekend.
his successor was
And
fired,
General
and
Kane
now we
said
have
no.
Kane. Yeah. We can take a lesson, I hope, and see an analogy between Herbert Hoover and Donald Trump. Because of Herbert Hoover, Republicans lost the next five
Five.
presidential elections.
because he couldn't
And
handle it. He
yeah,
couldn't
yeah, and
handle
because
the
the Republicans,
pressure.
and even Truman ran against Herbert Hoover. In effect, Truman in 1948 was running against Hoover, whose last election was who lost in 1932. 32, yeah. And we can only hope that this will have a long tail and put the Republican Party, allow the Republican Party to retreat and rebuild itself in the model of a Republican Party. Think of, what Nelson Rockefeller and Everett Dirksen and so many other great Republicans who could get involved in a deliberative process rather than causing a Congress that, again, is constipated, if nothing
How
else.
amazing would this be if this results not only in a win in the House and the Senate in November, but a supermajority?
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, but that would
How about
be-
that, to
that's-
really get some stuff,
that's asking too much, but-
some teeth into
Yeah.
this descriptive thing.
Yeah,
Do we have a candidate, one name, mention who could stand up to this opposition that keeps on demonizing us, I'll say it again. Plus also, one thing about Trump, can't stand the man,
I
but
know.
he is this image for them. Okay? Do we have anybody who's an image for us?
Well, I think it's a charismatic figure, you know,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
whether
it
you
is.
like
Oh,
him
but do
or
we have
not.
one?
Yeah,
Obama.
I believe
had-
Gavin
we
Newsom
had
could
them.
fit that.
in
Gavin
our
Newsom, you think
past.
so?
Oh,
By,
absolutely.
by the way,
Jimmy
we have a candidate in the name of Schlossberg who's running.
That's
and,
right.
you know what?
Oh, so
and
large,
maybe that's
Even Bill Clinton, Obama, all of these people energized not only the
That's what
party,
we
but
need,
the
right.
country.
Yeah.
We gotta have, yeah.
We need
Yeah.
another Barack
Uh-huh.
Obama. We need somebody that stands out and becomes this image. Because it's a popularity contest. That's
I've always
exactly
said
what it is.
Oprah.
It's a difference,
Everybody loves Oprah.
as Kathy, as Kathy
Yeah,
pointed out,
Newsom
there's
has
a
stood
difference
up to
between the person who,
toe-to-toe
a candidate
and beat-
and in the office. I'm dealing with a name, I've been helping a candidate I won't name, but this candidate does not understand the difference between being a candidate and being a member of the governing, being governing and being in office, and that's a problem.
I'm just gonna say that.
But
No,
that-
yeah.
I can.
And I would hope, and we'll wind up with this, I would hope that, again, we look at the national trends, but in the end, where the rubber meets the road is in your neighborhood, and your neighborhood, and my neighborhood, and.
Dragging your neighbor
with-
And our
yeah,
online
to go
communities,
vote.
though, those two are online communities.
Yeah, our online communities,
keeps growing.
except I find that on the, my online community winds up being all Democrats, and we're just, it's an echo chamber, we're all talking to one another, and I'm, in my vernacular, we're preaching to the choir, and what we need to do is reach out to, if not Republicans, NPAs, non-party
But
affiliates.
Sometimes, in my personal experience, like, I end up reaching people that have been apathetic Democrats.
Okay, so that's
It's
turnout,
wonderful.
that's the issue of turnout, and particularly on on the primary, August 18th, that's so important.
gotta get
Will people
people off
say,
their butts.
and even disaffected Republicans, will they vote for Democrats, or will they just stay home? Because of the demonization, I suspect that
They'll stay-
they'll stay home, they won't
Democrat-
vote for a Democrat, we eat
Party
babies.
Needs to go do what the Republicans did. We need to start back at the bottom and go up.
That's
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
build it.
School boards.
Yeah.
city
Act-
council,
By the way, there's
Turner
no
County
question about that.
commissions.
That's, you know what,
And push
Jan,
it back up.
for those of you who weren't here last week, Jan Sullivan came out and said, anybody live in School Board District 2, Will
Yeah.
Ferry's district? Because we
She
need
tried to get me to
a,
run.
we need a candidate. Hmm?
Yeah, put
She
that
came
call
out
out.
on Friday's forum and said, she doesn't know I'm gonna mention her name, but Kathy should run.
Are you in District 2?
Yes, but I'm not running, there's no way. I
Tell
mean,
them what you said.
I'm a psychic.
Yeah.
You know what they're gonna have to say?
Maybe that's what we know.
The one thing I would
I
have
think
from
you should
that-
run on the tarot party ticket, right? Okay, yeah. But by the way,
Liberty would love you.
exactly,
They're going by the
exactly, yeah.
wayside,
Yeah,
by the way.
They're disintegrating
Oh, you
of
had to see
parallel.
the faces.
Their
Yeah, I took a
disintegration in
snapshot
parallel
of it.
with the Republican Party's
Red MAGA.
disintegration is very
MAGA.
interesting to watch.
Beautiful
That
watch.
Moms for Liberty that was founded by people who were a little crazy anyway.
Rabid.
So, yeah, so thank you very much for being here. Join us again next week, same time, same station. It's all of your contributions are valuable and important.
Like and
th-
subscribe and send it out.
well, okay, so please, we need to thank Suncoast Media, and if you go to YouTube, and actually all you have to Google is Suncoast Media LLC, and you'll come up with Ponderings of Palm Coast and with ours, and a view counts, a comment.
Video is still up.
Yeah,
You wanna
so,
see who he is and what he's all about?
Yeah,
He
but
was
you-
very impressive also.
so you can look back at prior editions and this current edition, and we'll do it again next week, same time, same station. Thank
Same
you all.
bad time.
Same bad time.
Yeah, same, yeah, yeah.